Hello everyone. Hello ma'am. This is our submission for the part 1 of our second term's module 1 summative assessment. So this code should be able to generate and operate on matrices. Now let us run this code and check if it is running fine and correct. Now let us compare it to the test cases. For case 1, you can see the program was able to generate the following matrices from the test cases. Matrix A, correct. Matrix B, correct. Matrix C, correct. And Matrix D, correct. For case 2, we have to do operations on the given matrices. We also have 6 cases. Problem 1, correct. Problem 2, correct. Problem 3, correct. Problem 4, correct. Problem 5, correct. And problem 6, correct. Now we saw that the code passed all of the test cases. I will now show how we created the code. So this is the beginning of the code. It is important that we will be using the vector library. I will explain that later. You can also see that there are 4 arrays declared named A, B, C, and D, and they are set to the integer data type. These are actually the contents of the matrices from the test cases earlier. We have to do this since we are working with given matrices and not with random matrices. Now, this part is for the case 1, which will be used to generate the matrices. And this is for case 2, which will be used to solve the sum, difference, and product of the test cases given. Before we delve deep into the code, let me explain first the core of this program, which is this snippet right here. I like to call this the matrix builder. To make things short and simple, all this does is to make the rows and columns of the matrix. First, we need to make a dynamic array using the vector int data type. Basically an array on steroids. It is a dynamic array. The size of the array can be changed anytime, whenever you want. The first for loop makes a row and the other for loop inside it makes the columns. Since we are dealing with arrays, every time the code inside the loop that makes the columns are called, it loads in the contents of the array into the matrix. We are also using a pointer variable to keep track of which number should we load in next into the matrix. Now we have that understood, the rest of the code is simply just copy and paste this code snippet. Now, this was also the hardest part to make without ChatGPT, as it requires thinking. So now, brace yourselves as I explain this to you. For case 1, to generate the given matrices, we will have a function that will ask for an array and the rows and columns of the matrix. Copy and paste that code snippet I showed earlier 2 times and change the code of the second one to print out of the matrix instead of loading in numbers into the matrix. We will call this function later to generate the matrices. So we put the name of the array, the rows and the columns of the matrix into the parameters of the function. For case 2, the operations of matrices, it is like the first one but with extra steps. For addition, we will have a function, but now we will ask for 2 arrays, the rows and columns of the first matrix and the rows and columns of the second matrix. This is to check if we can add the matrices. First, we check if the dimensions of the matrices are the same, and then in the code snippet I showed earlier, before we load in the numbers into the matrix, we will first have to add the contents of the 2 matrices asked in the arguments of the function. The sum will then be loaded into the matrix and be printed out. For subtraction, we copy the function from the addition and just change this sign to minus. And finally, for multiplication, this function multiplies 2 matrices. It first checks if the matrices can be multiplied. If they are compatible, it creates the result with the correct size. Then, it calculates each value in the result matrix by combining the rows of the first matrix with the columns of the second. Finally, it prints out the completed result matrix. Now we have done that, Call this function, fill out the parameters, and boom, you now have a program that can operate on matrices and generate too. My name is Rico Yuma Aban, and my partner is James Santiago. Thank you for listening, and that's all.